What is going on, everybody? This is another edition of Prime Sports World. Welcome to College Football Showdown. It's me and my main man, Christian Simpson, here from the Daily Blitz.blog. But before we get into it, please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast at Prime Sports World. We're here on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. And David runs his Twitter whenever he hosts the show. But I just want y'all to lock in because we got a lot to talk about. And, we're that podcast that brings you the most consistent content all over social media, baby. Let's go. How you doing, Christian?
Man, I'm doing good, man. Big week, college football, rivalry week. And there's nobody else I'd rather be breaking this down with other than my man.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. No, and I know my other main man, Matt James, ain't been in a couple weeks, but he might pop up in here sooner rather than later. But anyways, man, a lot to get into, my man. Last week was a great week. Week 12, had some ups and downs. I just want to say this: I got 4 out of my 5 upsets correct. If I may say, I'm gonna toot my own horn because I think the week before I was an Oprah. I went for Oprah. The only one I didn't get right was TCU Baylor, and that was a close one.
Yeah, and you look at TCU. These last 2 weeks, they've been tested. I said it's like Texas unveiled the blueprint on how to really limit TCU, and then Baylor almost had them, but this is what the great teams do. They're able to turn that switch on when it matters most, and they're able to escape with a victory. But if it's anything I can say, Izzy, the teams that have been in the top 4 the last couple weeks, they didn't really look all that dominant last week.
No, they didn't.
Michigan struggling against Illinois and barely surviving that. TCU barely surviving. Baylor, Georgia beating Kentucky by only 10, and then Ohio State beating Maryland by a sloppy 13 points because Maryland gave them all they could handle. And I think that's something we discussed last week.
Yeah, we definitely did discuss that both teams were going to give them some problems, especially the way Illinois runs the football, plays tough. We knew that was going to be, a tough game, grinded out game for Michigan. It would have had so much more lore if Illinois was like in the top 10. They kind of handled business the last couple weeks before that, and then Ohio State, and I knew they were going to be in for with going against Tagovailoa there in Maryland. So we kind of knew, and then Georgia 16-6, TCU Baylor, they kind of squeak one out. You're starting to see a little bit down the stretch here. Those top 4 teams, it's been a long season. And some of those teams might be wearing on them, right, Christian?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, at this time of the year, who's not banged up? But
right,
it should be this time of the year where those elite teams, those teams that are considered the contenders, they should be turning on another switch because this is when the road to a championship begins.
Yeah, no, definitely. And the teams on the outside looking in, like USC and LSU, they're real hungry to take one of those guys' spots, and they're waiting for it. They need to take care of business too this week. LSU has a tough game against Texas A&M. Obviously, USC, Notre Dame. But Michigan, Ohio State, you got to come out with a winner there. Somebody got to win the football game, Christian.
Look, in the words of J. Cole, somebody not gonna be perfect.
Yeah, right. and then the other upsets I got right. Ole Miss losing to Arkansas. What a difference KJ Jefferson makes, right?
Yeah, what a huge difference. And you've heard me break him down plenty of times. He's Cam Newton number 2. Has a lot of those same mannerisms as Cam Newton. And yeah, it's just crazy how one guy can make all the difference in the world.
Yeah. And they played good defensively last week as well. They played tough defensively, but he was 17-22. KJ Jefferson type of game, real efficient with the football, 3 touchdowns, got in there in the red zone, was solid as can be. I mean, this is a team without KJ Jefferson, lost to Ole Miss 13-10, and then with KJ Jefferson, they might have pulled that one off, and then they lose this week. Golly, they lose on the road 29-27. Was that game I think that game was today, wasn't it?
I think so. You might be on to something. I'm not sure,
Yeah,
bro.
that game was earlier today in Mizzou. They lost by 2 points to Mizzou,
Wow.
Arkansas. After so they just had an up and down season this year. The Arkansas Razorbacks. They'll make it to a bowl, but anyways, I was talking about the game last week. I mean, yeah, KJ Jefferson 2 for 3 touchdowns, and Ole Miss had a tough time, and then Louisville. Um, uh, winning. I believe they beat NC State, if I'm not mistaken.
They
That
did.
was the game. Yeah,
Yeah.
beat NC State 25-10 at home, and then Oklahoma put Oklahoma State out there misery in the Red River in Bedlam. So
Yeah. Final one. Look, that may have been the best I think I've seen Oklahoma look since the beginning of the year. I mean, everything was just kind of clicking for them on both sides of the ball. And I can't wait to see more of Brent Venables players go to Norman because he didn't really get the chance to recruit. Let him recruit, let him get those guys that he's familiar with, and Oklahoma can be a force. I think they're more ready for the Big 12 than Texas.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I think Texas they have something with their defense. I mean, we saw it a little earlier. They were able to compete with Alabama. I think as Texas and Oklahoma start to get into the SEC, I think they'll start to get some of those kids from like Alabama and Florida. It's not like they weren't already, but
Right.
it's just a different type of recruit that goes to the SEC. But I think Texas and Oklahoma do fine. I think they'll do better than what Missouri did making the transition to the SEC and Texas. Well, Texas A&M kind of has been a tweener in a way. I mean, they're definitely in a down season this year. I want to talk a little bit about last week, and we'll kind of finish the note and close the book on last week.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about South Carolina beating Tennessee 63-38. I
Yeah.
mean, Spencer Rattler had probably the best game in his career. 30
Yeah.
and 37, 438 yards, 6 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, look, I gave him on Monday evening quarterback. I always give a college player a game ball, and I give an NFL player a game ball. And I actually gave the college game ball to Spencer Rattler. I just saw a guy that was in control. He let the game come to him, and most importantly, he didn't force anything. That's a tough loss for Tennessee, but I think the bigger loss was unfortunately losing Hendon Hooker.
yes, sir.
Like, he's been great for the game of college football this year. Just really getting a chance to preview a lot of Tennessee's games on the site and watching a lot of their games. I became a fan of this kid. I know, I say he kind of reminds me of Randall Cunningham, but watching more tape on him, you know who else he kind of reminds me of too? I say a little Deshaun Watson in his game. That mobility. He's a taller Deshaun Watson. Mobile, can extend plays, versatile threat, that dual threat quarterback. And man, I'm really wishing this kid a speedy recovery. I think I say that on your behalf too, because
Yeah,
he's been great, and I think he can be solid at the next level if he's in the right.
yeah, he's a senior. He's a senior. He's got great size. He's got good mobility. I mean, the knee injury, Godspeed. I think he'll have a speedy recovery. I'm gonna hope for it. I'm gonna pray for it, my boy. And
Exactly.
I think at 6'4", 218, he's got great size at the quarterback position. He's literally one of those guys. I mean, he transferred from Virginia Tech, and he literally changed his whole. He became a better passer when he went to Tennessee last year. 31 touchdowns to 3 interceptions, just under 3,000 yards, completing 68% of his passes. This year he had Tennessee. They beat Alabama. They were right there in the driver. They were right there in the top four. He basically played his butt off. He was in the Heisman conversation most of the year. Had similar numbers. Actually completed 69% of his passes this year. So he got better. So he's a guy that has gotten better as his career's gone on. And at Virginia Tech, we kind of seen flashes of him as a passer. He was a little bit more erratic. He relied a little bit more on his legs there. But at Tennessee, I mean, when you put the weapons around this kid, man, he was flinging that thing. And I think Hendon Hooker is a guy that can make that recovery. And I think if a team if he drops out the first round, we'll talk about that later, maybe in a couple months when we preview the draft and whatnot.
Yep,
But
yep.
yeah, I think Hendon Hooker's a guy that he's got a good deep ball, not the strongest arm, but he's got a good deep ball. There's guys that got good deep balls that can lay it on your guy accurate. He doesn't have the strongest arm where it's like zip, like Spencer Rattler, strong arm, strong arm. But that little 6'1" little sucker, he got a little zip on him, And we've been talking about that for a long time, but I just want to kind of talk about Spencer Rattler too. I know you gave him the game ball, but if I had to give him a game ball, I'm giving him a game ball too. After all what this kid's been through, he knocks off a top 5 team in the SEC, put up 63 points, threw for 6 touchdowns, over 400 yards, and he's got a big game this week against Clemson, a top 8 opponent. If he could beat an in-state rival in Clemson, and 2 back-to-back top 10 teams, I think Spencer Rattler's a guy that comes back next year. But if he could beat a team in Clemson and look this good, that might improve his draft stock for coming up into the season.
Yeah, and I want to see how Clemson comes into this game, knowing they're in the ACC championship. So this should be a little bit of a tune-up. They're going to come out, establish Will Shipley, but it's going to be up to South Carolina to bottle Shipley up and put the game in the hands of DJ Yui Ungalale.
Oh, Youngalale, yes sir, yes sir. Yeah, no. So that wraps up. That wraps up week 12. Oregon beating Utah. I mean, I think we all. I forget. I think did you pick Utah last week or you picked Oregon?
No, I picked Oregon.
You picked Oregon. 3-point win.
Oregon was going to win that one. Bounce back win at home. Eugene is a tough place for road teams to get a win.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then you know what? I'll touch on one more game before we move on because I have to talk about this game. USC UCLA 48-45, probably one of the best games of the year. What were your thoughts on that game?
Man, I loved every minute of it. I did have UCLA winning that game, but USC did just enough. And the reason why I picked UCLA was due to the simple fact they can outscore you at any given time. Their offense is a well-tuned machine, but it just seemed like I was watching Mahomes West when I was watching USC on defense because, they got turnovers and they got takeaways, but you got to get off the field. And turnovers aren't always going to be there for you. You see what I'm saying, Izzy? And, man, that's a tough way for Dorian Thompson-Robinson to lose a game, throwing those 3 interceptions. But, I really like Caleb Williams. I mean, now I see, like you said, he kind of has some Mahomes in him, and he does. He does. Kind of watching him, he's mobile. He's extending plays. He's moving to both sides of the pocket, and he just has a strong arm. I mean, this USC offense can space things out, almost like they're a basketball team on a football field. But that's what you get with Lincoln Riley. I mean, he's one of the best, if not the best, offensive-minded coach in the country.
Literally, two of their best players, on offense had probably their best games of the season, right? Jordan Addison, 11 catches for 178 yards and a touchdown. And then you got Caleb Williams throwing for 470, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. But he was just making throw after throw after throw. Caleb Williams is the best player in – I want to say – you know what? I'm going to say this. He's the best player in college football. He's the best player in college football. I know everybody wants to talk about Will Anderson. We'll talk about Devon Carter. We'll talk about C.J. Stroud. No. This kid is a sophomore, and he's better than all of them, okay? He's better than all of them. When I talk about transcendent talent, that's him. That's Caleb Williams. I'm going this first. I'm going to say that. When he makes it to the league, we don't be comparing him to Mahomes. We compare him to Rodgers. But when he makes it to the league, he's gonna be the one and only Caleb Williams.
Yeah, I agree.
How about that?
Yeah, I agree. But man, that's a huge win for USC, and I think Caleb kind of became the front runner right now for the Heisman. I mean,
you think so?
Yeah, because see, here's the way I look at it. The Heisman is kind of wide open. Around this time of the year, we kind of know who the projected favorite is to win it. I mean, there are 3 guys that I could give this award to. That's C.J. Stroud, that's Blake Corum, and then that's Caleb Williams. I think they're the 3 right now. I can't wait to see what our list is going to be before we end the show on who our little Heisman candidates are.
It's good. Yeah, there's some crazy drop-offs on the list. But yeah, no, you're totally right. I mean, CJ Stroud didn't even play that well of a game last week compared to what Caleb Williams did. He definitely moved. He's putting pressure on him. I think this is still CJ Stroud's award to lose. If it comes down to tomorrow. I'll be real with you.
Yeah, I agree.
If Caleb Williams looks sharp tomorrow, beats Notre Dame at home, okay, has a great game, and CJ Stroud struggles against Michigan at home, yeah, you can just give the Heisman to Caleb Williams. Seriously,
Yeah, I agree.
it comes down to tomorrow. In my opinion,
I definitely agree. But it's
and both guys have had a Heisman moment. You know, that was a Heisman moment for Caleb Williams last week,
absolutely.
and it could be another one this week.
Right now, he's my favorite to win the award. I think he's going to end up getting that invite to New York City, Izzy.
Oh yeah, no, he'll definitely get the invite. I still got CJ Stroud just a little bit ahead of him. Not by much. Not by much. When I look at the whole body of the season, the numbers that CJ Stroud has put up are sensational. And not saying that Caleb Williams, and we all know like the best player in college football doesn't always win the Heisman. So I get it. But man, it's gonna be tough for the voters when it comes down to voting for the Heisman this year. But anyways, that's closing the book on week 12. Moving into week 13, these are the new college football rankings. We got Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, TCU, all four still intact in the top four with two, Michigan and Ohio State playing each other. Then we have Georgia. I don't even think does Georgia even play tomorrow? Let me see here. Georgia plays tomorrow. Now we have TCU playing. Georgia plays Georgia Tech. That should be a W. Yeah, and then TCU's playing Iowa State, which Iowa State's having a down year this year. So I expect those two teams to take care of business.
I do too. But like I said, that the top four, neither team really looked dominant last week. Georgia only won by 10. Ohio State struggled. They end up winning by 13. Michigan escapes, winning by 2. And I got a lot to say about them because that was a trap game if we ever saw one. And then TCU escaping by 1. I get wins are wins, but neither team really wowed me in the process of winning.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I think, Georgia, TCU, they got some tune-up games going into the championship game that they're going to have. And then you got Ohio State, Michigan, battling out to who's going to the Big Ten championship, right? So gonna be a hell of a week for those two tomorrow. And then, looking on the outside, we got 5, 6 real predicating. They're real, they already know that they're going to get into the top 4 tomorrow. They have to take care of business. LSU has a bit of an easier, so to speak, road this week to get into the top 4. But I feel like this. You're going into College Station this week. The crowd's going to be electric. The 12th man's going to be going crazy. Right, Christian?
Oh, absolutely.
Texas A&M is playing with house money. They're looking to get you out of there. You lose this game, it's over with. You're done. It doesn't even matter if you beat Georgia in the SEC championship. But I feel like not SEC. I feel like LSU rather than USC. USC can lose a nail biter to Notre Dame and get in. LSU can't lose a nail biter to Texas A&M. They have to win convincingly against a 4-win team on the road. In my opinion, what do you think?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's going to be key for LSU to start fast, get the crowd out the game, run the football. TCU, they're playing for pride. And like you said, they're playing with house money. But get that crowd out the game because like you said, that crowd's really going to be a force. That 12th man's going to be awake. It hasn't been a good year for them. But like I always say, TCU, they can't look ahead. They know who's on the schedule the next week. Georgia, they cannot look ahead. They're going to have to start early and focus on who's in front of you. Georgia's still going to be there next week in Atlanta.
So let me ask you this. I know TCU. I got TCU winning against. But say Michigan loses, LSU loses, USC loses, Clemson loses. Does Alabama get into the top 4?
I still wouldn't put them in because they've lost 2 games. But to be honest with you, I would not be surprised if this happened because the committee loves some Alabama.
well. My thing is, like, say Ohio State beats Michigan by like 3-4 touchdowns.
Right.
And okay, what about this? Michigan, TCU, LSU, USC, Clemson all lose tomorrow. Alabama's definitely in the top 4.
Yeah,
if that happens.
I'll say this: the only way the winner of Michigan and Ohio State gets in, so the loser. So let's say Ohio State wins and Michigan's on the outside looking in. Then what do you? I guess I present this question to you. What do you see happening? So let's say Ohio State just loses in a Big Ten championship game if they win tomorrow. Does this open the door again for Michigan or what? Like as a
yeah, absolutely. Because they're looking because you're playing Purdue in the Big Ten championship game, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
You're playing Purdue. If you lose to Purdue in the Big Ten championship game, you don't deserve to be in the top 4 at the end of the season. No.
Exactly.
No, that does leave the door open for Michigan. So yeah, no, I no, totally no. That if they lose in the big, and let me just make sure that what I'm saying is right, because if I'm not mistaken, Purdue is Purdue is the team that's gonna be in the Big Ten championship game. Yes, Purdue is gonna be in the Big Ten championship game. So like, if Purdue is in there, then you gotta beat them. And if you don't, then Michigan, Ohio State gets back in. I mean, there's no reason why they shouldn't. I just feel like, man, TCU has no business losing to Iowa State. That just automatically gets them out of there. They have to go perfect. LSU has no business losing to Texas A&M. USC, just unfortunately, if they lose to Notre Dame, and then Clemson shouldn't have no business losing to South Carolina. But that's a 7-win team that just knocked off number 5 Tennessee.
Yeah, and in this game, you got to be able to turn the page, celebrate the win for a couple of days, but then just know another big time opponent is coming to town.
Yeah, no. So I think Alabama has the slimmest chances. I kind of posed this to you guys a couple weeks ago, and I was like, there's a slim possibility, but they have to have these teams to lose in order to get in. I mean, I'm not a big Alabama fan, but I'm just one of those guys that's just like, it's just interesting around this time of year, like how the dominoes fall in this game. And then like Oregon, they're another 2-loss team. If I had to put who's the best 2-loss team in the nation, I mean, I got to put Alabama over. Well, I got to put LSU over both of them. But if LSU loses their 3-loss team, Alabama wins, beats Auburn in the Iron Bowl, and you know what I'm saying? So if I got to pick who's the best 2-loss team, it's got to be Alabama. Other than Oregon.
You know what I was telling someone the other day, Izzy? I was saying to them, nothing's really set in stone with the college football playoffs. So that's what makes it even more interesting and more intriguing. I know our version of Selection Sunday is coming up. Championship week is coming up. So there's still a lot more to be determined.
It's crazy because when I look at, and I think when I look at these, when the committee kind of when they're gonna pick so Alabama will probably be 6, and they'll see a 5 team like Michigan, and I hate that they're gonna do this, but they're gonna be like, guys, who you think will win between Michigan and Alabama if they play? Who you think gonna win between Michigan and Alabama if they play? And if the room is unanimous that Alabama could beat Michigan, then why isn't Alabama going in the top 4? Right?
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying. So that's the way the committee thinks. I hate it. That's why we need to move to a 12-team playoff, person. Damn.
But it sounds like the committee also goes by the eye test.
Exactly. So anyways, rounding out the top 10, Oregon, Tennessee, we talked about the top 8 already. And Oregon doesn't have any shot. I mean, if they would have beat Washington, they would have had a shot a couple weeks ago. I don't think they have a shot anymore. And then Penn State, K-State, 11-12, Washington at 13, 14, Utah, and then number 15, Notre Dame. Let me just elaborate on Notre Dame, not because I'm a fan, but because of the fact that we thought this team, after losing to Marshall, definitely losing to Ohio State, losing to Marshall, losing to Stanford, we thought this team was kind of dead in the water, right? But no, Marcus Freeman got them playing good ball. Drew Pine playing decent ball for at the quarterback position. The defense is looking solid. Michael Mayer's up for that best tight end of the year award. I don't think he'll get it, but yeah, Notre Dame's a team that's really shot up the boards, and I think they could for them to beat USC is they know that they're not going to make it to the college football playoff, but for them to beat USC is gotta be so good for them moving into next season.
Oh, definitely, because remember everybody was coming for Marcus Freeman's neck after losing Marshall, and I'm just saying to myself, okay, it's 2 games in. Give him time. He's still trying to get his feet wet. He's still trying to figure this thing out. He's the first-year head coach, and I just really like the way his players have responded to him. You can tell they love playing for him because they leave everything on the field, and he motivates them to be great, not just on the field, but off the field as well. I mean, I still think of that video, Izzy, when he became Notre Dame's head coach, and it was how the players responded to him when he came into the locker room. Just look at how everybody got up and accepted him. This program is going to be good. Look, they have everything set in stone there. Strong offensive line. They run the football. Good defensive play. They get that one consistent quarterback, and I think they're one of the best teams in the country because look at Georgia, look at Ohio State, look at Alabama. What do all 3 of those teams have in common? Consistent quarterback play. Mm-hmm. Haven't really been able to say about Notre Dame, and this might be saying something, but Ian Book is the last solid Notre Dame quarterback. They always won when he was under center, man.
Yeah, no, you're right. But I mean, we gotta give Drew Pine some. He's turned. He's a true sophomore. He's turned his. He's a redshirt sophomore. He's turned his season around a little bit. Been playing more efficient of lately, especially since that Stanford game. 19 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. But he's a kid. He's a kid that he's undersized. Not that strong of an arm, but he's a good game manager. I'll give him that. But Notre Dame's definitely a team. If they get hot against USC, it can happen. And then moving on, number 16, Florida State, who I'm just super impressed with. I mean, last 4 games, they've just been blowing teams out, man.
Yep. I'm so proud and so happy for Mike Norvell because he's taking advantage of the talent that he's had down there in Tallahassee, and this could be another one of those teams where you got to watch out for them. Let them recruit. Let them get some quality players, and they could be a force in the ACC.
Yeah, and right now they're up by a touchdown with a minute left against Florida now. So they could end the season on a 5-game win streak, beating their rival. And this was actually a pretty good game. I didn't really get to see it. I came from watching Black Panther 2, but 45-38. Florida looks like they're driving right now. So we'll keep an update on that. We'll keep you guys updated on that live. We'll drop a live score on that one. But yeah, Florida State's been, just putting up 35 plus more points. And 4 of the 5 games, including this one, they've dropped 40 points. Jordan Travis has been playing amazing. And I think next year, man, I think this team is definitely going to be in the top 10 to come out the season, coming out the gate. And then moving forward, we got the UNC. We got number 17 UNC, who I believe dropped to NC State today.
They did.
If I'm not mistaken, 30-27.
They did.
Yeah, 30-27.
I have a feeling if they had lost that game, Dave Duran would have been fired.
No, you're right about that. You're right about that, though. You're right about that. You're right about that.
Yeah.
You think he would have got Herm Edwards?
Yeah, he would have got Herm. I'm sorry, man.
I better not see that ever again from any program.
Man, look.
Disrespectful. Anyways, I just think that, Drake May, he's definitely dropped out the Heisman with this loss. He was there. I was talking about him all season.
You were?
He was there, and I was comparing him to Lamar Jackson's stats and all this other good jazz. But yeah, they're out of it, and I think they're still going to the ACC championship game, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, Clemson.
They are. And Clemson to play them. Yeah, Clemson to play them, and so he's got his one last game to look good. But tonight just wasn't his night and UNC's night. And then we got number 18 UCLA dropping USC last week. Number 19 Tulane, who won against Cincinnati, he's got to play them next week again. in the championship game for the AAC. So that should
Yup.
be interesting for Tulane. And then round out my top 25, we got Ole Miss, Oregon State, UCF, Texas at 23. Number 24, Cincinnati, who just lost to Tulane, will probably drop out the top 25, but they got to play them next week again. And then number 25, Louisville, who was unranked last week, but is ranked this week, and coming off that win against NC State, Louisville in the top 25 for the
Mm-hmm.
college football playoff. And if I had to look at some teams that that may take form, Lord, let me look. Cincinnati lost. South Carolina. If South Carolina beats Clemson, they're definitely jumping into college football playoff top 25.
I can see that.
Yeah, and let me see. UTSA needs to get some love. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah.
UTSA should get some love. The Road Runners, come on, man. Yeah, show them some love. I think they might end up in the AP top 25 by the time the season's over with. I don't know about the college football playoff top 25, but definitely the AP top 25. They'll be on that fringe there. But anyways, moving forward to our prime sports world feature games of the week. And I know this is Christian's favorite time to break it down with your boy here. Yes, starting off, and we know it's rivalry week, everybody. Everybody's, going crazy. Teams right down the road in the same state, they TPing each other on each other's campuses. They doing all types of pranks. Well, we're going to settle it on the field with the football players this week in rivalry week. And the first game on the slate is the classic Iron Bowl between Auburn and number 7 Alabama. And how do you see this one shaking out? This one is in Alabama.
I think we're gonna see a lot of Jahmyr Gibbs in this one. Kind of cut from that Alvin Kamara cloth because he can beat you, slippery runner, runs up the tackles, bounces outside. Bryce Young's gonna have another big game. Just don't think Auburn has enough to keep up with the Crimson Tide. I like Alabama here, but I say 3 touchdowns, Izzy.
By Jahmyr Gibbs. Yeah, no, I like the way I think they need to. I think by the end of the season, Auburn needs to take that interim tag off of Cadillac Williams and give him
coach.
Yep, and make him the head coach. You got 2 wins back to back, albeit against a struggling Texas A&M team, but you still beat them. And against Western Kentucky, you beat them 41-17, rightfully so. I think this is actually going to be closer than a lot of folks think. I think the way, I've seen, some crazy stuff in this game. I mean, remember the return for the kick, the field goal?
Yep,
for the touchdown return?
Previewing that one, and I remember a whole bunch of people just getting on me for having Auburn win that game. I'm like, nah, man, it's just something about them. That was the year when Auburn went to the national championship when they played Florida State.
Yeah, no, and let me tell you something. Cadillac Williams, former running back, and let me tell you something. He's making it I like what I saw at the last 2 games. He's making a priority to give it a Tank Bigsby. We're going to run it, play smash mouth football. I think, Tank Bigsby has over 100. He had 120 yards against Auburn. He had like 110 or 120 against Western Kentucky last week and a couple touchdowns. I think this week they're going to do the same thing. They're going to play physical, brand of football. They're going to play good defense. I think they're going to come up short, but it's going to be close. But I think Tank Bigsby's going to have a good game. Watch out for him. Watch out for that running game of Auburn. We know Ashford, he's young quarter, I don't think, Robbie Ashford's a young quarterback out of Hoover, Alabama, true freshman. He's a kid that, he's got a bright future ahead of him, but it's, I don't think he'll matter in this game. I mean, he does got to make plays, but I think Tank Bigsby in that defense has got to definitely step it up. But I think Alabama is going to be too much for them. Like you said, they have to win this game to keep their hopes up in the college football playoffs. So Alabama wins this game. They come out fired up. They're at home too. So, give me Alabama. But I think it's going to be a lot closer than what people think. I think people sleeping on Auburn in this game. Don't sleep. I've seen some crazy things happen in this rivalry. So yeah, give me Alabama to win this game. And then the next game on the slate, we got number 5 LSU going up against unranked Texas A&M. And why do I got this as the feature game of the week? Because they're going into the 12th man,
Right.
and going playing in College Station at the end of the year is no slouch. And you have to go in there and take care of business. And that crowd is going to be fired up. And as we explained it earlier, they are going to be playing with house money. How do you see this one shaking out, Christian?
Well, like I said at the top of the show, for LSU to win this game, they got to start fast, get that crowd out the game. They're going to be fired up. And these two teams have given us a couple of memories the last couple of times they've met. I remember that 7 overtime game a couple years ago when I think Texas A&M won that game, if I'm not mistaken. I think this is like the first year under Coach Ed Orgeron. Go Tigers! So I had to do it when we were talking about Coach O. Izzy, but I like LSU in this one. I just think they're the far more better team. Texas A&M is going to be motivated because they're like, look, we're not playing for anything. We're going to treat this as our bowl game. We're going to treat this as our quote-unquote championship because it's been a long season down here, and then we're going to get back to the drawing board. We're going to right the ship, get some recruits. I think the thing that's holding back Texas A&M is quarterback play. Kellen Mond, he was okay. Haynes King, he's okay. They need that guy that's going to move the needle because everybody they've had hasn't really been able to push that needle forward.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, man. I think this is a game that LSU does have to start off strong, but I have Texas A&M upsetting them at home in this game. I know that LSU has been playing much, has been like one of the best teams in the nation, even with 2 losses on the record. They've been the best team in the nation, but I just think something about that 12th man at the end of the year, it gets you. And I think they're going to be playing with house money. Like you said, inconsistency with Haynes King, has really killed Texas A&M. And I really was disappointed in them last week. I mean, you only put up 20 points against Massachusetts, 20-3. But I think if they could keep this game close, they could run the football with a chain. I think if they play good defense, they keep Jaden Daniels from making big plays, getting outside the pocket, extending plays. I think Texas A&M has a great shot at winning this football game at home with the crowd. It's going to be electric. It's a 6 p.m. It's a night game. Give me Texas A&M at home as my first upset of the night, beating LSU and just knocking them out of there. Getting them up out of there. Getting them up out of there, like I'd like to say. Moving forward to the next feature game, we got number 9 Oregon on the road in the Oregon State. And this is the Civil War, ladies and gentlemen. Yes. Going into Corvallis, Oregon, playing against the Oregon State team that, snuck right back into the top 20. They've been in and out the top 25. They're number 21. This has some heightened expectations on it. Oregon still has a tweener, like 2% maybe chance to get in the conference. I think they're done, but I think they're trying to finish their season on a high note. Bo Nix still has a lot to prove. He's still in the Heisman candidate conversation in a way. So how do you see this one shaking out in the Civil War here?
Well, I have a feeling Oregon State, they're gonna try and slow the game down. That's what you're gonna have to do against this high prolific offense of the Oregon Ducks. Slow the game down because Bo Nix and company can't do anything if they're on the sideline, right? So they're gonna do that. But Oregon had to grind that game out last week against Utah. It was such a low-scoring game for a Pac-12 game, 20-17. I have a feeling Oregon's going to want to come out, establish their offense, lots of balance, running the football. And like you said, Bo Nix is going to have something to prove. I like the Ducks in this.
Yeah, it's not like Bo Nix didn't have a bad game against Washington either, man. I think he had a good game against them, even in the loss. And ever since the loss to Georgia, first game of the year, I mean, he's been really good, man. A little over 3,000 yards, 25 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He's completing. He leads the nation in passing completion. Completion percentage at 72.2, and he's also run for 500 yards and 14 touchdowns. So that's the full. That 14 touchdowns is the most of any quarterback in the nation. So. Definitely Bo Nix has played like a Heisman, candidate this year. And if they were just one, and this game, if they win this game, they make it to the Pac-12 championship game against Southern Cal. And Oregon State,
Yup. So I
That's
think
what heightens it. Oregon State would love to just beat their in-state rival. In this game to knock them out. One guy that I like to say, Oregon State, they started off the year with Chance Nolan, but Ben Goverson, 5-1 since he's replaced him. Chance Nolan, who sustained a neck injury in October back, against Utah. But I think Goldmanson, he's a guy, that has to make some plays. He's 63% of his passes, 1,200 yards, 8 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. He has 2 rushing touchdowns. But when I look at Oregon State, they run the football. Damian Martinez. They have the other two running backs that they have that are pretty solid. So I think Oregon State, man, can actually, come in here and give them some problems. But I think that Oregon has, too much, firepower for Oregon State. I do think that they go into Oregon State with Corvallis and get it done. So let me get the Ducks in this one against Oregon State. So moving forward to the second best probably game of the week that I'm going to consider. Number 15 Notre Dame going into Southern Cal. Number 6 Southern Cal with some crazy implications for Southern Cal. Because if they win this game, they're probably getting into the top 4, and they got to take care of business against Oregon or whoever in the Pac-12 championship game. It's either going to be Oregon if they lose and Utah wins, it's going to be Utah. So how do you see that one shaking out? This is going to be a big one, man.
Well, it's contrasting styles. USC is run and gun. They want to get the football up and down the field. They want to get yards and large chunk plays. And Notre Dame, they would kind of want to slow the game down. This is a team that runs the football. They have great offensive line play, and defensively, they want to get at you and they want to make you one-dimensional. So I want to see how Al Golden is going to draw up how to get after Caleb Williams. You see what I'm saying? That's what I really see what this first half is going to feel like. I think USC comes out in the second half. They make key adjustments, and I think this game is going to be close all the way through to the fourth quarter. The team that has the football last is going to win this football game, Izzy, and I think that's going to be USC. I previewed this one on the site on Tuesday, and I have USC winning this game by a score of 35-30.
Yeah, man, this is gonna be tough one, man. Notre Dame's gonna want to run the football with Logan Diggs and Estime. Man, I'm conflicted. I think Notre Dame gets it done, man. I'm a big Notre Dame fan. I'm not being a homer here. I just do think that they're coming in hot right now. I think they're gonna go on a roll. They're gonna what other way? USC's been a long time rival for them. This kind of gives you those like them 06 days, right? When you had Brady Quinn and Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush and Lindell White and all those guys. Remember that game where Matt Leinart had to get pushed into the end zone. To win that game and back in 05, 06. This kind of gives me. It's not the heightened, because those two teams are like in the top 5, I think. Number 1 USC. I think Notre Dame was like number 4 or 5 or something like that. But this game gives me those vibes, or it's gonna be close. It's gonna be a lot of offense, I think. But I think when I look at Notre Dame, man, I just think, man, they're just coming in hot right now. I think the faith is on their side, right? As they like to say, the luck of the Irish. But a big matchup I think is going to be like the pressure on Drew Payne, right? With Tui Pelotu, who's one of the best defensive linemen in the nation. Going against two of the best, in the nation. Going up against some of the best tackles, Joe Alt and Blake Fisher. This is and he's like one of the nation's leading. I think he's third in the nation with 11 sacks. He makes so many plays from the inside and the outside. And those two tackles have only allowed 17 sacks on the season. So that's going to be, a key matchup when it comes to, that matchup. But I think Notre Dame is, going to squeak out a win here and knock USC out the college football playoff. I'm just going with my guys.
I'll tell you one why for Notre Dame. I'm watching J.D. Bertrand. He was meant to play middle linebacker. for any team. I mean, this kid is like Luke Kuechly reincarnated. He moves from sideline to sideline, and he's just always around the ball. Is he?
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. You're right. But I think this is another Heisman moment for Caleb Williams. I think if he gets it done, CJ Stroud, kind of strongest against Michigan, that Heisman trophy is his, man. In my opinion, especially if they
Yeah.
have good games in their respective conference championships. So he's going with USC. I'm going with Notre Dame. We'll see how it all shakes out. But on to the last featured game of the week. And we have been waiting for this one since week one, probably before week one of college. Probably when the end of the game last year
Yup.
in the big house. We've been
Yup.
waiting for this one because we
Yup.
knew this was going to happen. Number three, Michigan going into the horseshoe this time around to play their biggest rival of the world. The biggest rivalry, probably almost bigger than Chicago Bears and Green Bay Packers. Probably is bigger than Chicago Bears and Green Bay Packers. Ohio State, Michigan, the big game in the horseshoe. How do you see this one shaking out? And I already know what's about to happen.
What's
I
about
already
to
know
happen?
what's about to happen. I
What's
already
about
know
to
what's about to
happen?
happen. It's a shameless plug.
Plug, baby. But nah, man. Like last year, when these two played, what did Ohio State do? They couldn't stop the run. Michigan
Nope.
ran that football down their throat until Ohio State could stop it. And this became the game where people noticed Aiden Hutchinson. Now, a year later, Aiden's not there, but they still have Blake Corum. Donovan Edwards is there. JJ McCarthy is there. And there are two matchups that I'm watching in this game. I'm watching the Ohio State receivers against this Michigan secondary. And I'm going to kind of take it back to what I told you, Izzy, about the NFL and the Kansas City Chiefs. Remember how I kept telling you, it almost seemed like teams kind of figured out Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs last year. And you kind of had Tampa Bay to thank for that because of the blueprint of unveiling it in the Super Bowl. I see Michigan kind of coming out with that same game plan, keeping those safeties high, playing man coverage, tight man coverage across the board, and forcing them to earn everything underneath. The way you beat Ohio State is with activity from your defensive line, and anytime either one of those guys catches the ball, you bring them down right away. You cannot let them work in the space because if one guy works in the space, everyone else is going to do it. So I think that's going to be key. And then it's also going to be key for Michigan. They got to make stops on third down. McCarthy's going to have to complete a big pass or two here and there because Ohio State's going to bottle up that run. But I also look at they got to come away with 6 and not 3. You're not going to beat this team kicking field goals. So you have to take advantage of your opportunity in the red zone. But most importantly, I think this is the biggest thing. You have to pressure CJ Stroud. You have to get pressure on him. You got to hit him, make him mobile, take away everything he wants to do because he wants to establish himself in the pocket. Have him get rid of the ball sooner rather than later. And then when I look at Ohio State, the matchup I'm looking forward to is the Ohio State run defense against the Michigan ground game. This is why you went and got Jim Knowles for a game of this magnitude. You know what happened last year. They ran all over you. You couldn't stop it. And Ohio State's been improved against the run. But now you're going to have your toughest test. Not only is this the best running team in the Big Ten, I'd like to say this is the best running team in the country. So I think the keys for Ohio State, they're going to bottle up Corum. They're going to have to bottle up Blake Corum. They're going to have to make J.J. McCarthy beat them. Keep CJ protected because this Michigan defense is going to come at you in a lot of different ways, and you got to stuff that run game. I think that's what it's going to come down to. That's what I think is going to be key because if Ohio State, if they protect CJ, and if they bottle up Michigan's run game, Ohio State runs away with this game in flying colors. Like, it won't even be close. This game is going to be over at the half. I preview this one tomorrow, an hour before kickoff.
You said it's gonna be over at halftime?
If they keep CJ protected and if they stuff Michigan's running game and they force JJ McCarthy to beat them. So I think the key for Ohio State is starting fast. Like they got to turn this into a shootout.
Yeah, no, I agree. Some fun facts. I mean, this is what the 13th time since 1942 that both these teams have been top 5 teams in the AP top 25. And since 2016, this is probably one of the bigger games since then, other than last year, right? When second, last time I think they were 2-3, or were they 2-3 last year as well? Were they 2-3 last year? I think Michigan was 2 and they were 4 last year. But I think this year, Ohio State's ranked number 2, Michigan's ranked number 3. Last time in 2016, Ohio State beat them 30-27. Last year, and that was a double overtime in 2016. Last year, what was it, 42-27, beaten by Michigan. Last year, they relied on the running game. It was wet. It was nasty. Aiden Hutchinson and you had David Ajabo. You don't really have that this year with Michigan, but you still have that dominant running game. I will say this. Both running backs, Donovan Edwards, Blake Corum, and then on the other side, you look at Mayan Williams and Travion Henderson. Mm-hmm. All 4 of those guys are banged up. I mean, Blake Corum had the knee injury last week. Travion Henderson ended the game last week in a freaking boot last week on the sidelines. Mayan Williams didn't even suit up last week. And Donovan Williams kind of been a little bit banged up as well. I mean, I think Donovan Williams is a little bit more healthier than what Blake Corum is. But if I had to look at both running games, they're both going to be a little banged up. So it's going to be a war of attrition between those two. And if there's a weakness, Ohio State is susceptible to the running game, right? They've been a little bit better this year than last year, but I think if they have a weakness, it is a power running game, and Michigan does bring a power, nasty style running game. I think the offensive line is better than their defensive line at Ohio State. But yeah, you're right. If it has to come down to 2 quarterbacks making plays, I trust CJ Stroud a hell of a lot more than I trust JJ McCarthy. So yeah, I didn't put this on the upset because I don't think this is the upset pick or anything. But I'm actually going to go with Michigan to win this game. Okay. I'm actually going to go with Michigan to win this game. I know this is, it took Harbaugh 6 tries to get 1 win. I think he gets back-to-back wins in this game. Back-to-back wins in this series. I just think that Michigan plays physical. They're that team they're gonna make it dirty. They're gonna make it nasty. I don't know what the weather's gonna be like, but if it's raining and nasty, and like how it was in windy, like how it was at Northwestern a couple weeks ago for Ohio State, it's gonna be in favor of Michigan because of their style of play. So yeah, give me Michigan to win this football game, 20-17.
Oh, so you're low scoring. Okay.
20-17. I think points are going to be at a premium. I think you know what? I want to go a little higher. I want to go higher scoring. I might be wrong, but I just think, man, it's going to be a battle one in the trenches, and I think Michigan's just a little bit better in the trenches.
Man, let me just say this. It's always an honor to get to talk about this matchup and preview this matchup. I still remember when I previewed this matchup for the first time, Izzy, on the site. 2016, and that one went into overtime. And there was a lot on the line.
Double OT, yeah.
Yep. I've previewed it since then. I often refer to this rivalry as the Duke in North Carolina of college football. It doesn't matter where these teams are ranked. You're going to hear something about it. It's going to be talked about all week. This is going to be absolutely huge. I can't wait to reveal my preview. I kind of teased it a little bit, wrote it today, just made sure it was perfect. And look, I'm doing what we do here at the Prime on the Daily Blitz.blog. I'm bringing the heat, baby.
He bringing the heat, baby, 24/7, son. And when I look at the numbers too, man, look, I think Michigan has a just slightly edge better, the grittier on defense. They're allowing 11 points per game to almost 17 points per game for Ohio State. They're allowing less yards in Ohio State by like 40 yards. They're front seven. They're super stout. It's going to be at rushing yards. Rushing against Michigan is going to be hard, as opposed to Ohio State's allowing 107.9 yards on the ground, and then passing as well. Like 175.5. in the air to Michigan's 161. So I think Michigan defensively is better than Ohio State. We'll see. We're talking all this chatter. We're doing all this prediction, but we ain't gonna know nothing until the game is played tomorrow, baby. Y'all tune in on Fox 11 a.m. to watch this game shake
I
out.
can't wait.
Can't wait.
I
can't wait, baby.
And I have a feeling you and I are gonna be talking throughout this game, Izzy. I see it right
Oh
now.
yeah. Oh yeah, I'm gonna be watching with my uncle. And Michigan. See, I'm not a Michigan fan. I can't be a Michigan fan because I'm a Notre Dame guy.
Right.
I like Notre Dame. But my little brother graduated from Michigan. My uncle's a big time Michigan fan. My dad's a Michigan fan. I got a cousin from my mom my stepmom's side through marriage. He's a big Michigan fan. So it'll be nice to see those guys kind of celebrating tomorrow, and me also celebrating tomorrow if Notre Dame beats USC. So kind of by default, I kind of like to see Michigan beat Ohio State again this year.
Man, let's say this. Look, I'm gonna grab my pen too. Ohio State's had this game circled since last year. They knew.
Oh yeah.
Last year, they're gonna come out angry. They're gonna come out mad. But I just think the biggest key for Ohio State is when they're in the red zone, they have to come away with 6. They cannot kick field goals beating a team of this magnitude. And if Michigan, if they can take advantage of the opportunity, pound the rock in between the trenches, and most importantly, get pressure on CJ Stroud, they're gonna win this game. They can win points.
And let me tell you something, man. Tomorrow it's gonna be cloudy. It's gonna be chilly. It's gonna be raining. And I told you, man, if it's like this, man, I like Michigan, man. I like them. I like them in this type of game, man. I like them in this type of game. It ain't nasty as it was last year in the Big House, but it's looking like it's gonna be some rain tomorrow, which kind of bodes well for Michigan's running attack. Moving on to the upset picks. I already chose Notre Dame over USC. I think they got them. I chose Texas A&M over number 5 LSU. My next upset pick, man, no Hendon Hooker at number 10 Tennessee. I got Vanderbilt going in to Rocky Top. You guys might think I'm crazy. But I actually do think Vanderbilt could beat Tennessee this week.
I agree with you. I mean, I saw Tennessee was favored to win this game. I'm like, wow, even without Hendon? If Hendon's in, it's a completely different story. But
it's a blowout.
I think Vanderbilt's going to end the year on a high note. They're going to beat their in-state rivals.
And this is a neutral site game, so they're playing at First Bank Stadium in Nashville. So they're playing where the Titans play. So it's going to be a neutral game, neutral site game. So anything can happen. Giving Vanderbilt to win this football game. I just think that Tennessee's reeling a little bit, losing their senior leader, and I think Vandy has a shot to beat them this week. So shout out to Vanderbilt. They're gonna run the football a little bit, especially with Ray Davis. Who's close to 1,000 yards this season. I think if they keep it close, I think Vanderbilt has a shot to beat Tennessee, especially neutral game. And then I got Washington State over number 13 Washington. I think Washington State goes in. Washington goes into Washington State, which I just never liked that. It's a late night game going into Martin Stadium. Man, Mike Leach, man. Hey, look, man. Let me tell you, man. This is gonna be high scoring, man.
Yup, that ball is going to fly around. 50 points might determine the winner of this game.
Yeah, absolutely. And even though Wazoo's only averaging about 27.3, give me Washington State to win this game. Cameron Ward's got to make some plays, but I do think Washington State ends up winning this game at home. And then my last upset of the week, I got South Carolina beating Clemson, another in-state rivalry game. I think Spencer Rattler, and this one's in Death Valley. This one's in Clemson. I think Spencer Rattler keeps it going. I think knocks Clemson completely out of the picture. I think Spencer Rattler, has another, not 6 touchdowns, but I think he'll throw for 3, 4 touchdowns, keeps the momentum going. The Gamecocks can run the football, they can play some defense, and I think they'll bottle up DJ Uyunglele here, Will Shipley, and I like South Carolina to win this football game here.
Man, I'm gonna take Clemson in this one. I just think Clemson. They know they have a lot to play for. Tomorrow being a rivalry game, then you're in the conference championship next week against North Carolina. You win those two, and who happens in front of you, then you get back to the top 5, potentially, maybe even the top 4. So they know they have a lot of business that they have to take care of, Izzy.
No, absolutely, absolutely. There's a lot riding on for Clemson to win this football game. I mean, if they know Michigan, Ohio State, one of those teams going to lose. Maybe LSU's the next team in, but they have to win this game and have to win the ACC championship game to give themselves a shot to get into the top 4. And LSU, is playing in the Big 12 championship, in the SEC championship game as well against Georgia. So that's gonna be another shot. They literally have 2 shots to get in here, but Clemson does have to take care of business to kind of get into that top 4. But I see South Carolina kind of keeping the momentum up and winning this game on the road. Moving on to the Heisman list, a little bit of a change here. We still got CJ Stroud at the top, but I moved Caleb Williams all the way up to number 2. Like I said, it's gonna come. Yeah, he deserves it. It's going to come down to those last 2. I would say last couple games, CJ Stroud, Big Ten championship. USC plays in the Pac-12 championship, and they'll either play Oregon or Utah. But this is a big game. It's another Heisman moment for Caleb Williams right here. Let's see what he's made of. But I think CJ Stroud struggles, Caleb Williams doesn't, and has a good game against Notre Dame and wins. Then I think you can put Caleb Williams at the top next week. Then Blake Corum, another guy that's on the fringe right here. CJ Stroud for this award is not only, looking for, and I know he don't care about the Heisman as much as he cares about winning a national championship, but he's, going against 2 guys really here. He's going against he's going against a guy across the field as well, Blake Corum, right? Blake Corum has a good game, wills his team to a victory, and CJ Stroud kind of struggles in this game. He may drop down to number 3 in the rankings here after this week. And then I running on my top 5, I got Max Duggan from TCU, who's been the best quarterback in the Big 12 all year round. And Jaden Daniels from LSU, he's been money this year. If he closes out, his last 2 games, he's definitely in the top 5. I think he should get an invite definitely to New York City for the Heisman Trophy award ceremony. And then my dark horse, I got Stetson Bennett here from Georgia. I mean, he's been quietly good. He hasn't been as inconsistent. He hasn't been consistent at all. He's just been quietly good, and he's a big game quarterback. I look at Stetson Bennett. Every big game that he plays, he's just rose to the occasion. And I love Stetson Bennett. As a dark horse. He didn't play all particularly well against Kentucky last week. 116 yards, 1 interception. He always kind of plays when it's like down competition. He kind of plays down to it. But when he's playing against a good team, it's a big game. Stetson Bennett always seems to rise to the occasion. So I got him as a dark horse. And then on my outside looking in for my Heisman Trophy, I got Bo Nix and Bryce Young still there. Bo Nix, we talked about his season that he's had, and Bryce Young still got to be there in a way for Alabama. Drake May totally dropped out last couple games, so.
Man, I can't disagree with any of this. I mean, Caleb Williams definitely worked his way up. I honestly think a trip. There's so much riding on this game tomorrow in Columbus because not only is it for the Big Ten East Division title and then arguably the 2 seed in the college football playoff, but I also think a trip to New York City is on the line here with CJ Stroud and Blake Corum. I mean, I think both are deserving to get there. And to be honest with you, I won't be surprised if it's those first 3, CJ, Caleb, and Blake, as the candidates that get invited. Like I could really see that.
No, absolutely. And I think all 5 of these guys get invited. If I had to take one guy out of the top 5, maybe Jaden Daniels and put Bo Nix up in there.
Yeah.
Maybe he gets invited over Jake Daniels, but I think all five are well deserving. Um, and so, I think, it's interesting to see how the end of college football, this week and then the conference championships kind of play out to see. But there'll definitely be some shuffling here within the Heisman rankings
I agree.
as we move forward in the last couple of weeks, up and going up until the ceremony. But anyways, that's been a wrap, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed the show. Like I said, please like, share, and subscribe to Prime Sports World on the Facebook and our YouTube channel and our Twitch channel. And make sure to go catch Christian Simpson on a Daily Blitz blog and the Monday Evening Quarterback every Tuesday, ladies and gentlemen. And don't forget, his article drops. What time does it drop? Just before
I'm going to
game
drop
time?
it an hour before kickoff. And Izzy,
Oh, 10 o'clock.
The person that sees it, man.
Yep. Hey, 11 o'clock Eastern, 10 o'clock Central Time. That article will drop for Michigan, for the big game, for Michigan, Ohio State. And we know Christian brings some of the best insight here. A gem that people need to put on their radar, baby. Need to put on their radar. My guy bringing them gems, and y'all better lock in. Y'all better lock in and go ahead and check out the Daily Blitz blog, man, ladies and gentlemen. Anyways, everybody, I just want to remind y'all, I know it's Rivalry Week. Don't get stupid. Drink responsibly, and take those Ubers home and lifts home. Don't drink so much, and don't get so heated and hostile, because it's Rivalry Week. You want to just choke somebody. You want to choke your in-state rival, but it's all for the love of the game. At the end of the game, you know what? Let's show good sportsmanship, everybody. Don't end up on World Star. Don't end up on the Shade Room. Don't end up on Facebook with being all crazy and fighting and somebody laid out and bleeding. And we just want everybody to just enjoy the game. Talk a little trash and shake each other's hand at the end of the game, baby.
Yeah, man, because at the end of the day, there's more to life. It's always bigger than football. Can't wait to watch all this, and I can't wait to talk to you about these games during the day, Izzy, because I have a feeling you're gonna want to probably grill somebody next week.
I'm definitely about to grill somebody next week. I already know. I already know. I got it already on the radar.
Look, man, I got the utensils. You just bring the grill.
I'm gonna bring the brisket. We're gonna smoke it, and then we're gonna throw it on the grill and then smoke it again, baby. That's how it goes. But anyways, you guys have a good night, man. And if I don't see you, man, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, ladies and gentlemen. Prime Sports World, bring it in heat. We'll see you next Friday, and possibly not tomorrow for the crossover. They'll be done. We're probably done for the rest of the week. But we'll come back here Monday previewing NFL. I don't know. I think is it week 11 or week 12?
Nah, it's gonna be week 12 recap and then
week 12 recap.
13 in the NFL.
Then looking into week 13.
Tuesday, I will be
yes,
there.
Sir.
Keep up with me. Monday evening quarterback every Monday. Right after Monday evening quarterback, I jump on the Prime and break down the NFL with these guys every Tuesday. Catch me on the Prime again as we pick games for the up and coming week. Wednesday, catch me on the Nerd Zone on Nerd Report Network. Every Friday, catch me on College Football Showdown.
Peace out, guys. Y'all have a good night and enjoy the games tomorrow, man. Peace out, Christian.
Absolutely, man.
Yes, sir.